Why is it important to measure S&OP? Well, is there a commitment to the process by all participants and stakeholders? Are they just going along? Are they just going along for the ride, or are they actually engaged in the process? You want to be able to answer that question. Hopefully, they're engaged, but you're going to get from time to time you're going to get people that are just there and not fully engaged or actively participating. Is the appropriate discipline in place to avoid continuous reminders from the facilitator? I know in the past I've had to, before I started using the scorecard, I had to constantly follow up with some participants to verify that they've completed their information as part of the inputs of the process, right? And you don't want to be in that situation where they're relying on you to remind them that they need to do their what is required of them. So you want to avoid that. Is there a mechanism to drive and measure improvement in the S&OP process? Ideally, there's tools in place that help the facilitators to improve the process and gain the maximum benefit out of this monthly meeting. And do all participants believe there is value in S&OP process? If not, what are the ways to increase their passion and get involved in the S&OP process? You can usually gauge whether someone's actively involved in the S&OP process or just and actually using it to the benefit as a decision-making meeting to help the organization exceed or meet or exceed results. You can tell if they're on board or not. So those are the ones you gotta, I would say put a little more attention to and understand why. And it might be in some cases a matter of, look, I got too much else going on. How am I going to do this? So you got to kind of get the benefits. And I talked about some earlier, and I'm gonna finish on some of the benefits, and hopefully, so those are some of the things you can share. Tools to measure the process. The first component of measuring the process is related to the basics with a disciplined approach that doesn't make it personal, right? What you don't want to do is make it personal. I'm a director, and while there's vice presidents at the meeting, I still need to have accountability in place for key requirements of the meeting. Showing up on time, completion of inputs into the S&OP process, and completion of meeting minutes if they're assigned it. So, as part of not making it personal and not making a bad, I'll say, career move, right? Because trying to hold someone in a senior position accountable, you got to tread lightly, right? So there has to be the right approach to do this, and even in some cases, where they're not contributing, it might be a matter of, I've heard this before, where someone has said, well, why am I wasting my time on this? It's going to get denied by the CEO or the organization anyways. So, they need to understand that when done properly with the appropriate justification and supporting data or facts, this is really the forum to move initiatives forward, particularly when it can impact the profitability of the business. So if you can link that usually helps along the way. So you want to, for tracking attendance, completion of input slides, and previous minutes. So this is really in terms of measuring the process, and this can be used in all the meeting forums. But these are really the key things. Recommendations for implementation of S&OP Scorecard. So the first thing you want to do, there may be mechanical compliance initially, just to avoid being, having them show up on this scorecard as not complying. And having it displayed at the S&OP meeting. But what you want to do is move from mechanical compliance to, they're doing it. So they're doing it because they have to, versus they're doing it because they get it. So what you want to obtain support and review scorecard with the chair of the pre-S&OP and S&OP meeting. So you want to get their buy-in. Before you implement something like this and put it up there, get the support of the chairs of the meetings, which is usually not difficult to do. Review the requirements of the participants as a group and as an agenda item on the meeting. Discuss the importance of each metric and impact when participants do not meet the requirements agreed by the group. So, be open about the fact of what you're measuring. Tell me how you're going to measure me. I'll tell you how I'm going to act. So say, look, if we're going to implement this scorecard, these are the expectations, and then even why it's important. You don't want, if someone's showing up late, you don't want to have to circle back on information, right? general meeting guidelines, if you will. First, you start it, send reminders to participants in the first as you start to implement this, but the thing is you don't want to have to let them, get them on board, and then they'll move to the right behavior. And again, don't make it personal, right? You want to link it to the benefit of S&OP. So here's the sample scorecard. So, if let's say we're measuring demand review, and you've got the participants here. So all the participants in the meeting, right, that would be attending. So you'd put the list here. And then it's basically if they had meeting minutes assigned to them, were they complete on time? If they have inputs, input information or slides, was it complete on time? And then did they attend the meeting on time, right? First, that they attend on time. And if they did, fantastic, it's green. If it's not applicable, I would just make it green. So in this case, you have two individuals here. This one didn't do slides on time, and this one didn't showed up late for the meeting, whatever, 15 minutes for the meeting, or didn't show up at all. So, this is a very, very simple red and green scorecard, right? And it could be very effective to track compliance. So you could do this for demand review, for supply review, pre-S&OP, and even S&OP if needed. But usually the executive S&OP meeting usually is not a problem with the CEO in the room. But the thing about this is no one likes to be read, right? So you put their name up there and they see they're read, they're, either they don't care, or most people are going to want to change that, right? They want to be green. So again, what you want to do is have an open discussion with the participants in the meeting. Say, look, this is the expectation, right? And this is a scorecard. And so you would do this for demand review, you would do this for supply review, and even for pre-S&OP. But at pre-S&OP, what you're doing is, and even S&OP, the participant here is the executive. So for example, if participant A is the VP of supply chain, everyone within their area, so the director of supply chain, the supply chain manager, procurement manager, master scheduler, everyone that had a responsibility falls under them. So they may have showed up on time and done everything they needed to, but if people in their area didn't, then they might be red. So you make it clear to people that that's how this is going to be reported. So the VPs actually are the one, this is their names ultimately at S&OP. And I've done it. I've put it up at S&OP, and I've shown a VP red on some of these categories. And the CEO, you don't have to say a whole lot, because the CEO looks over and says, is there a problem? And they say, no, this will get corrected. But I do, what you do want to do, again, you want to meet with the participants, explain the scorecard to them, whether you give them a 1 month, free period where, okay, look, we're going to do it for a month, but after that, it's getting reported at the next meetings. But it's amazing how quickly you get people to fall in line on these requirements. So it's probably been one of the most effective tools that I've used going through it. And I would highly recommend that if you're going to show a VP as red, you have an offline discussion with them before and say, look, I'm just making you aware. And they should be aware of the scorecard, that it's in place, but make them aware before the meeting that this is what, they have their name's going to show as red, and this is why. And basically, I've seen VPs go into S&OP and saying, even before, as soon as the slide comes up, basically to tell the CEO it's been addressed, and consider it taken care of. So again, some of you may have implemented something similar, but for me, simple red and green, and it's a nice visibility tool. So hopefully it'll be something that helps you. Questions?